Okay, bro. I guess we got the rec bot. I guess I'll go first.
Is it recording?
Yeah, I hope it is.
All right, you can go ahead.
Recording audio in debate 3. Okay. Got my scan really quick. So, where's my... It's okay. So look in scans chat.
All right.
So my argument for Kaido is just gonna be that he's the strongest creature. I have reason to believe the strongest creature title is gonna be the index to combative ability, thus making Kaido top 1 post time skip. So if you look in scans chat, I think you already. I think you already know that Kaido has the title. I don't think I need to prove that Kaido has the strongest creature title, but I can send you the link as well if you want it. But on the official One Piece website, it's essentially stated that Luffy would like inherit the title of strongest creature if he was to beat Kaido. And this was stated on the official One Piece website, and that would basically mean that the strongest creature title would have to be indicative of combative ability. Otherwise, like Luffy wouldn't be getting the title upon a combative defeat of Kaido. So that would mean that the title would be combative, thus Kaido's top 1. And Cards of Combat, post time skip, what's your response?
You say you sent it in scan chat?
Yeah, I can send you
All
the
right.
link as well. Hold on.
Oh, scan. Let's see, man. What is it? SBS?
It's from the
What is
official
this?
One Piece website.
Okay. Let's see.
I can just read it out to you if you want.
No. I'll just read it. We'll see in Luffy's own confrontation with Kaido and the Blood of Samurai. Honorable and all right, man. I'll just go ahead and say my response. So, yeah, I just think that your argument presupposes that inheriting the title after defeating Kaido means the title is an unrestricted index of overall combat superiority. And to be honest, I don't really think that follows because it shows titles can be transferred through defeat. It does not establish that the title possesses epistemic priority over every other statement concerning other characters, right? That's non sequitur, meaning the conclusion does not follow from the premises. And another thing, if you look at ScanShot, I'm about to send this after my response. Scan from Grand World states that after acquiring Whitebeard's pack became the strongest ability user, and that before this power, there is nothing to fear. Prima facie, meaning accepted at face value, doesn't like what was I about to say? Yeah. Meaning accepted at face value that places Blackbeard above other ability users. And since Kaido is literally an ability user, yeah, that just means he's above Kaido, in my opinion. But and also another thing, can you justify why World's Strongest Creature is absolute and unrestricted and why it overrides my statement? Because just showing that Luffy would inherit the title after defeating Kaido only demonstrate that the title can be inherited through combat. It does not prove that the title cannot be superseded by later statements regarding Blackbeard, right? Also on a flag for the judge Hermes, my opponent has not demonstrated why Kaido's title possesses epistemic priority over my evidence. He has assumed that inheriting a title through combat entails universal supremacy. But that inference, I don't think that requires like justification. I don't think that inference itself requires justification. Before you respond, let me send my scans before you respond. Don't respond yet. Don't respond. Let me just send my scans. Let me just send my
I just
scans. Scan
I just
shot.
realized we can't do talking stick if there's no
Just
mod to mute us.
chill. Just relax. Just relax. Don't respond yet. All right, man. You can check scans. I sent 2 scans confirming. And yeah, man, you can go and respond, man.
Okay, so like number 1, like I would need you to justify why my premises like don't follow. Like my conclusion doesn't follow my premises. I would assume that when it comes to like titles, like when someone has a title, like for instance, if you have like a title of being the world's best, like okay, let's just say like who's the current strongest man in the world? Isn't it like is a dude named Brian, right? What was his last name? Um. Hold on. Okay, it doesn't really matter who the fuck he is, right? Like in real life, like I forgot the dude's name, but he's the strongest man, and basically he's the strongest man because he has demonstrated that he has the best feat to becoming the strongest man. He would no longer attain said title if there would be another man that has better feats and is stronger than this guy, right? So I think it would like logically follow that titles would only be superseded if someone else within a similar category performs better or has a better portfolio when it comes to that specific category. I think it would be like I think it would logically follow that if Luffy was to beat Kaido in a 1v1 and him gaining the title, that would then mean that the title's combative because wait, hold on. And I'm gonna read like the second half of my scan again. After all, if Luffy won 1v1 with the Kaido and came out the victor, Luffy wouldn't inherit the title of strongest creature and his journey would have found it. Yeah. Okay, so even if you look at the scan itself, like prior to like this like when it says that like Luffy would inherit the title if he was to beat Kaido, it's basically talking about like Kaido and Luffy as if they were fighters in a real boxing match. Even in real world sports, like boxing are divided by weight and class, therefore fighting at a disadvantage may be considered an honorable victory. After all, if Luffy win Kaido is the strongest man. So they literally talk about like combat before they even say it. So I do think that like the statement itself would mean reference to overall combative ability because they're setting Kaido and Luffy up as fighters in order to gain said title. So like once again, like I said before, I would need you to justify why you think that my evidence does not follow my conclusion. I think it very clearly does. Secondly, I never said that this is going to be like a universal like statement. I just said that it would probably be applicable to most of the time skip. Obviously, like characters, like for instance, like Emu could probably be stronger than Kaido in the future because Emu themselves might not be applicable to the statement, or they might have better feats to supersede Kaido, whatever the case may be, or better narrative. I'm not like claiming that this is gonna be absolute within like all of the history of One Piece. I just said for the post time skip. And to attack your line of scaling, I think that my scan would hold more value than your scan because your scan comes from the pre time skip. The pre-time skip obviously came before the post-time skip. So like my scans would be more recent, and I think recency does play into how valid scans are. It would also be the case that I'm not sure if the specific like scan would be applicable to Kaido, seeing as how Kaido was like rarely a character in the story at the point of the scan was being made. So it would be the case that like we don't know if how like strong Oda envisioned Kaido at this point in the story. We don't even know if Kaido had a Dofru in this point of the story within Oda's mind. Kaido as the character has not been actualized within the story yet. So I'm not sure if the statement would even be applicable to Kaido, seeing as how I'm not sure if like Oda would have wanted like Blackbeard to be stronger than like a version of Kaido didn't really exist, if that makes sense. Like Kaido's like how strong Kaido is could have changed over time. We just simply don't know. This happened like multiple hundred chapters before Kaido actually did anything within the story. So you would need to prove that like how Kaido is and how he acts and how strong he is presented within Wano would be the same Kaido that Oda would be thinking about whenever creating said statement. That's my response.
All right. Yeah. So for one, I want to prove that my scan is a pre-time skip statement empirically. For two, I also want you to prove that the One Piece site is canon. It's something that's authorized by the author. So why should we even take this to be the case, right? And yeah. Also, another thing, the reason why your conclusion doesn't even follow is because your evidence proves that the title is combat relevant, but not that it is like in a combat sense and absoluteness, right? Because combat relevant means the title can be gained through fighting. Combat absolute means it overrides every conflicting statement and matchup factor. So your scan only gets you the first one and not the second one, right? Secondly, your recency argument is not enough because newer does not automatically mean stronger evidence. You have to prove that there's a contradiction between the Blackbeard statement and the Kaido title. If both can coexist, that recency does not erase my scan. Blackbeard can be the strongest ability user while Kaido has a reputation based creature title, unless you prove those categories are identical and exclusive. And then another thing, saying Kaido was not developed yet is speculative because speculative means it depends on guessing Oda's intent rather than the text. The text says that Blackbeard became the strongest ability user after getting Whitebeard's power. Kaido being introduced later does not automatically remove him from the category of ability users. And I also want to like flag this for the judge, man. Hermes, man. I hope you're not a biased judge here. It's my first time. It's the first time you judge my debate. But listen, um, he conceded that the title is not absolute and only said it applies probably to like most of the time skip. That means it has exceptions, it has limits. Once he admits that he must prove that Blackbeard is not one of those exceptions, because my scan directly gives Blackbeard an exception. Because it calls him the strongest ability user and it gives him a devil fruit nullification win condition against Kaido. You can-
Okay, so I can provide like reliability. I'm sorry, I stuttered. Reliability to my scans. It comes from the official One Piece website, and if you go on the official One Piece website, it is ran by Shueisha and Shonen, the people who basically like are like Oda's bosses. So I would assume that would hold some kind of relevancy or authorial power when it comes to like the things they post. Number two, I could also call on the question where your scan even came from as well. I can prove this is a pre-time skip scan. It shows pre-time skip images within like the scan itself, and it also talks about something that happened within the pre-time skip, which is Blackbeard stealing Whitebeard's fruit, which happened before the time skip happened. Secondly, you never addressed what I said, and I think this is also like a form of burden shifting, because in order for your argument to go through, you'd already have to be presupposing that the Kaido we see within the story after, like, during Wano is the same Kaido that the statement would be applicable to a whole like 300, 400 chapters before Kaido was actually actualized. So it'd be your burden to prove that Oda's like intention when it comes to the statement would also be applicable to Kaido, but which I don't think you could ever prove, seeing as how Kaido was barely a character at the point of the statement being made. And like again, like I said earlier, like I don't think like my statement has to be absolute. I just think that my statement is greater than your statement. I don't think you fully I don't think you fully attacked like my reasoning as to why I think it is a combative title and it does mean that Kaido is the strongest. You can respond.
All right. So first, what we can do here is just, yeah, I can just go ahead and send you proof for my scan being canon. Give me a second. Let me just find the proof real quick. Should be, where's it at? Should be like, oh yeah, should be right here. So yeah, right here, if you check scans chat, my scan is one of those supplementary items throughout the history of One Piece, and the magazines are canon. The magazines are literally authorized by Oda. I can also send the proof for that. Let me send the proof for that. So this would just be a reliable source. Give me a second. Where is it at? Oh, right here. It's the SS. Um, what does the scan even say? Wait, actually, I don't even think I sent it in scans. Let me just make sure I sent it in scans. All right, there it is. What else? What else? What else? So yeah, another thing. Why does okay? So prove okay. So for one, why does the One Piece site have like, or ran by Weekly Shonen Jump or Shueisha even prove or lead to the conclusion that it's authorized by Oda? And why are these people even Oda's bosses? I want you to justify that and prove that. And also another thing. I'm not actually denying your source has authority. I'm denying your inference because your source, being official, proves Kaido's title is reliable. It does not prove the title has greater scope than my Blackbeard statement. And scope here just means what the statement actually applies to. And you're also shifting the burden by demanding for me to prove Oda's private intention. I do not need to prove the private intention of this author. I'm using the text as written. The text says that Blackbeard became the strongest ability user and Kaido is an ability user. So unless you can prove that Kaido is excluded from the category, the statement applies. And your pre-time skip argument only works if you prove later canon contradicts or retcons the Blackbeard statement because recency alone is not a defeater. A defeater means evidence that cancels or weakens another claim. So you have not shown a contradiction because Kaido can have the strongest creature title while Blackbeard has the strongest ability user statement and a better matchup win condition, right? And then I also want to flag for the judge here, man. He conceded his statement is not absolute. So now his burden is not proving Kaido has a combat title. His burden is proving Kaido's non-absolute title is stronger evidence that my direct statement that Blackbeard is not an exception, and he has not done that. But yeah, man, you can go to respond.
Okay. So number one, when it comes to the reliability, this is the official One Piece website and it's ran by Shueisha and shonen, I think it'd be like illogical to assume that Oda has no part or involvement, even if they are the ones who run the website. It's still Oda's story, and I find it highly unlikely that they would put like irrelevant or like wrong information within like the sources of the website, especially since the website is going to be something that's going to be used to convey information. As like if you clicked on the link of my scan, it basically sends you to like a whole like document discussing like things about Wano. I would find it illogical for there to be like irrelevant or wrong information in there, at least not purposefully. So I do think that Oda still would hold some kind of power within his own website, seeing as how it's still his story. Number two, I don't think you're really understanding what I'm trying to say. So the thing is that yes, I agree that Kaido's an ability user and the Blackbeard's an ability user, and the statement shown says that he's the strongest ability user. The thing is that like by the time the statement was made, we do not know if Oda had the intention of making Kaido even an ability user to begin with. We do not know what like Kaido was within Oda's mind at this point in the story. So the thing is that like titles and like statements can change over time, right? Like a character can be like stated the strongest like at chapter 10, but that can be easily changed later on. Like a lot of the time stories don't really like stay the same from conception. This is even the same case with One Piece. Like if you I'm not sure if you know this or not. The One Piece was actually supposed to end like way back like during like the Alabasta and like Enies Lobby arcs. I mean not specifically that, but just, I know it was supposed to end like earlier back then, right? So clearly, Oda has shown that he's willing to change the story to bend to like any new ideas that he has. So what basically what I'm trying to ask you to prove is like, okay, Oda's intent is something that is unknown, and in order for your argument to pass through, at the time the statement was made, was Oda's intention to make Blackbeard stronger than the version of Kaido 300 chapters after the statement was made? Like, and I don't think you even proved that, to be honest. And like when it comes so like since you can't prove that, and I basically have not yet to see any kind of evidence suggesting so, I would automatically assume that my statement would hold more value because like I haven't shown any kind of contradicting evidence when it comes to my statement. All you have shown is this statement, which I've already asked the question, and I'm asking you to prove why Kaido would be applicable to the statement. You can respond.
Okay, let's see, what should we start with? Yeah, we can just start with um oh yeah, the first thing you said it's gonna be illogical to assume that this site has bad information or information that's not true. That doesn't even prove that it's actually canon. Canon here just means something that's authorized by the author. You haven't proved that. Um, for two, we do know what Kaido was in the story. We literally just get told verbatim that he was clashing with Shanks, so he has some sort of relevancy in the story. And he's also a Yonko. We see him. Garp literally just straight up tells us that he is a Yonko and he's one of the four Yonkos. And what else, man? What else, man? And also, um, yeah, the entire point about the One Piece site is like irrelevant to my objection because my objection is scope. Your source proves Kaido has a combat relevant title. It does not prove Blackbeard is excluded from his own statement or that Kaido's title overrides it, right? And your Oda's intention argument is um basically speculation, right? Because you were saying, well, maybe Oda changed his mind, maybe Oda, right? Maybe he had like Kaido, like maybe he had Kaido not as planned, or like maybe his like the statement you're trying to say doesn't apply or something like that. But I don't think none of that is contextual evidence because this is just a possibility claim. And also, um, what else? What else? Yeah, you do not get to remove Kaido from the category of an ability user um because of a possible hidden author intent. Because in the actual canon, Kaido is an ability user, right? And the actual canon source. And the statement says Blackbeard's the strongest ability user. So the burden is on you to prove an actual defeater, not a hypothetical about the story planning. And I also want to flag this for the judge, man. He keeps asking for private author intent instead of addressing the contextual categories. And he conceded that Kaido is an ability user and conceded Blackbeard's scan says the strongest ability user. So his only escape is speculation that Oda has maybe changed his mind. That's not really a defeater, but you can go to respond.
Okay, wait 1 second. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest. I think we should honestly like conclude after after my response because I think we're kind of going circular. So I think what you're doing is you're trying to shift the burden on me by saying, well, I have to prove that like Kaido's like strength was like changed, or like the idea of Kaido as a character was changed throughout the course of One Piece. The thing is that your argument would already be like presupposing that. Like you're getting on me for asking for private author information, but the thing is that your argument requires private author information. You're assuming that okay, since the statement was made, Kaido the way that he is now is the same way that he was then. You're asking me to prove that when the burden is really on you, right? That's number one. Number two is that I believe that the statement not being honestly, the rest of my response is probably just regurgitating whatever I can actually just conclude. I think we can just conclude. I was
All right,
about to
hold
repeat
on.
myself.
All right, let me just respond. Hold on. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me just check the scan real quick. Let me just check if I want to send the scan before we conclude. I can just get my conclusion, man. So, first, for Hermes, the judge, throughout the debate, the guy already conceded that Kaido is indeed an ability user, never provided a textual defeater to my statement that Blackbeard became the strongest ability user after obtaining Whitebeard's power, right? Because his primary responses were, well, speculative appeals to hidden author intent and the possibility that Oda may have changed his mind regarding Kaido, but speculation is not a defeater, and I do not need access to Oda's private thoughts. I simply apply the text as written. And in present, canon Kaido is an ability user. And furthermore, I also question the authority of the website statement and asked them to justify why Shonen Jump and Shueisha statement should automatically possess authorial authority or canon status, and why we should even take them to be true, and why they should have epistemic priority over my evidence. He never established that connection to Oda, nor why the statements override mine. And his argument at best, if we're just being charitable, we can just say his argument at best establishes that the world's strongest title is combat relevant and transferable through victory. It is not established that the title is absolute or that it supersedes every conflicting statement, because he himself conceded that the title is not absolute and it only generally applies to the post time skip. So therefore, he must prove that Blackbeard is not an exception, which he never did in the entire debate, by the way. So since there's no contradiction or retcon to my statement was provided and no reason was given to exclude Kaido from the category of an ability users, my evidence remains standing, because the debate has become circular and no new defeaters have been introduced. So I believe we can conclude, and yeah, that's my conclusion, man. I affirm that. My affirmation to begin with Blackbeard beats Kaido, but you can go ahead and give your conclusion.
Okay, so I think throughout the course of this debate, I do think that Tay was going kind of circular. I don't think he fully understands like the burdens I've placed upon him, and I think he believes that he does not need to address the burdens that have been placed upon him. Basically, like his argument was using what's written in the text. In the text, Kaido's an ability user, Blackbeard's an ability user. Thus, I have to prove that Kaido would like the statement's either wrong or that Kaido does not apply to it. The thing is that what's written in the text can change over time. I've already said this. He never addressed it. I asked him time and time again to justify why Kaido, like when it comes to like the character, when it comes to his intentions, when it comes to who he is as a person, or when it comes to combative capabilities, he would be the same as the time the statement was made. Because once again, like I said, authors can change the story over time, and I don't think he fully properly addressed this. His argument requires private author information, and he was trying to make me justify why we need to like how I would need to justify that Kaido did change, even though it would be his burden. So he attempted to burden shift multiple times throughout the debate. I gave uh, excuse me. I gave a likelihood as to why we should use the One Piece website as a reliable source. It is ran by the people, like it ran by Shueisha and Shonen, who Oda works with. as well as the fact that it's supposed to be an information-based site. Information-based sites are less likely to have incorrect information, and I did posit that the probability that the One Piece website would be a reliable source and and contain correct information would be true. I do not think he addressed that as well. So overall, I do think that the debate came down to Tay going kind of circular, as well as attempting to burden shift me. Whilst I tried my best to prove, trying to make him understand that the burdens are not on me, they're all on him, and I don't think he ever got it. So that's why I think I won. And my position was that Kaido beats Blackbeard via the statement of him being the strongest creature, and that the statement would fall under Blackbeard because it's combative. That's it. I guess we can end the rec, bro. I don't know how to end this shit.
All right, let me end the rec. How do I do it? Slash end rec. Slash end. What the fuck? How do I end the rec?
I don't know how to end the rec. Manny, because someone help me.
Shit, how do I end this shit? Oh, stop. No, wait.
I'm assuming it's stop.
Stop recording. I think this is a different bot. Oh, this is a different bot.
No, that's Paula, bro.
Slash.